Hey, it's Debra Poneman, founder of Yes to Success seminars, the Awake Method, and Ageless Anti-Aging for your brain, your body, and your future. Coming to you live from my lovely hotel room in Asheville, North Carolina. Happy almost Hanukkah and Merry almost Christmas and happy almost Kwanzaa. And I hope you enjoyed the winter solstice. And speaking of winter solstice, a couple years ago, right around this time, I was teaching a class and somebody put in the chat, Happy Winter Solstice. And I thought, well, I know that it's the longest night and the shortest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. And beginning the next day, there will be more and more and more light. But I realized that I really didn't know why people celebrated the solstice. So I decided to look a little more deeply into the significance. And do you know that I could not find one culture that celebrates the darkness, but every culture I looked into celebrates the returning of the light. I discovered, for example, that the Hopi Indians celebrate a festival they call Soil, where they welcome the Kachinas, the protective spirits from the mountains, who arrive on the solstice day carrying torches of light. And it's a beautiful ceremony that they do. I saw pictures of it. And in Persia, they celebrate the festival of Yalda, and that's viewed as the victory of light over dark and the birthday of the sun god Mitra. And in China, the winter solstice is a major holiday with celebrations dating back to the Han Dynasty in 2006 BC. And throughout China, people visit temples as the sun rises, celebrating the return or the returning strength of the positive or yang energy. Isn't that cool? And so it's all about celebrating light. And here in the West, Christmas time is also often referred to as the season of lights. We see lights on houses, lights on trees, lights in our churches, lights on our tables, lights in our hearts, as those of the Christian faith celebrate the birth of the being of light, Jesus Christ, on earth. And during the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah, known as the Festival of Lights, Jewish people light the 8 candles on their menorahs, and it's like a candelabra, and they light a new light each of the 8 days of Hanukkah, celebrating the great miracle of after the destruction of the Second Temple. They found only a flask of oil that contained enough oil for one day, and it miraculously burned for 8. And during Kwanzaa, which begins on December 26th, candles are lit for the 7 nights, each night representing one of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, which include unity and purpose and faith. And I think that one of the reasons there is a lightness in the air at holiday time is that the collective consciousness in the world is focused on light, and light allows us to find our way out of the darkness. And this is the time on our planet light is very much needed. And as we know, the more we put our attention on something, just by the power of our attention, it grows in the world. So I invite you to consciously use this time of year, and especially these holidays, which of course mean holy days, to put the power of your attention on what is filled with light, what is good in the world. And there is so much good. Instead of spending our holiday time with family and friends, taking the conversation from bad to worse about the world. And not that we're ignoring the problems or pretending they aren't happening, but by us talking about them while not contributing to the solution, we're fueling them by our attention. We're increasing the darkness and the fear in the world. So why not instead at the holiday table, for example, because you and I both know exactly where the conversation could go. Instead, go around the table and each person shares something good that's happening in their own lives, and then go around again and add something good that's going to happen in the coming year, or something good that's happening in the world, or tell a story that's uplifting. Like I read this true story about a mother with her 2 children, and they had no money for, no money for Christmas dinner or Christmas presents, and she and her children were walking down the street, and she found a wallet overflowing with money. It's a true story. Overflowing with money, just lying there on the sidewalk. And she could have easily kept it. There was nobody in sight. But instead, she searched and searched and searched for its owner and finally found him and gave the wallet back without a penny missing. And her children asked her why she did that when no one would have known and they could have had presents and a Christmas dinner. And she said to them, it's not true that nobody would have known. God would have known, and you would have known. And if you can't think of anything good in the world, go on websites like CNN, The Good Stuff, or my favorite, The Optimist Daily, that's overflowing with good news that is happening all the time. And as each person shares, they will not only bring more light into their own life and the lives of the people at your gathering, but the collective light will radiate out and contribute to more light in the world. And just like for a forest to be green, each individual tree needs to be green. For the world to be filled with light, each individual must start with him or herself. Oh, and before you even arrive at the place where you're going to be celebrating with a holiday dinner, blast the place with light. Just visualize the whole room and everyone in it filled with light and filled with love. So I'm going to end today's message with a story about an old man who was poor and unhappy, and he heard that in a far off land there was a shrine that had a very holy, blessed flame. And if you could light your lamp with this flame and bring it back to your house, it would illuminate your house and all the family members with happiness and prosperity and good health for all your days to come. So he made the decision that he was going to go find the shrine and he would light his lamp and bring him back to his house and his village. So he walked and he walked for days and days, and finally he found the shrine. And he lit his lamp with great exhilaration. He began the trek of many days back to his home. Well, when he was less than 1 day away, he met a man who was homeless and shivering in the cold, who asked him if he could use the man's lamp to light a fire. Well, the man was hesitant because he was afraid to open his lamp and expose it to the wind, but his heart told him to help the shivering man. So he lit a fire for the man without his flame going out and continued on his way home. And then, a half a day later, with less than half a day journey to go, there was a huge thunderstorm and the man's lamp was extinguished. Heartbroken, he knew he would never make it back to the shrine. He was too old and at that point too tired and broken. And then he had the thought, but I could go back to find the homeless man with the fire. He's less than half a day's walk, which he did. And he lit his lamp from the man's fire, brought the light home, and his life was filled with light from that day forward. So I'll leave it up to you to decide what was the real source of his happiness for the rest of his days. Wishing you a holiday, a season, and a lifetime filled with light by being the light and spreading the light and sharing the light. Happy holidays.